guys, today I'm going to talk about building self-awareness and communication. You know that feeling when you end a conversation and you're like, what the hell did I even just talk about? What did I just say? I don't know who I am, what I just said. Today I'm going to be talking about how I realized I had this problem and how it's kind of been a problem my whole life with anxiety. I walk out of a lot of conversations being like, I don't know who I am, and the way I just spoke does not align with who I think I am or who I want to be. And I'm going to show my application of this skill and show you why it's important to have self-awareness, and then also define the components of self. So this is all stuff that we've read in the textbook, but I wanted to go over our self-awareness. It's who we basically think we are, our ability to see our own thoughts and behaviors as stemming from who you are. So as you could assume, if we don't know who we are, we're not going to be able to communicate in a way that shows who we are, and that'll leave us feeling anxious and just not well about the conversation. Our self-concept, we all know this, it's your subjective description of who you think you are. So this kind of feeds into confidence. If you have a high self-concept, if you have positive self-concept, you're going to be more secure in who you are and be able to advocate for yourself, which leads me to the next topic, which is self-efficacy. So this is where, the way I look at it, it's our confidence and our ability to communicate with others and stand up for ourselves. That's my application. And this is a snowball effect. If you have low confidence, you're not going to be able to stand up for yourself, which is going to make you lack the want to communicate with others. If you feel like you're walking away from every conversation feeling low about yourself. In my study, it said that adolescents with a more positive self-concept had a higher sexual communication efficacy, and I thought this was a perfect example because vulnerable situations can test our ability to stand up for ourselves, and I think a situation that most of us have been in is the progression of a romantic relationship or a hookup. There is that tension there that's like, am I going to be able to be comfortable and stand up for myself? And with self-efficacy, it's so important to be able to communicate what makes us comfortable and what's not. When we are confident, obviously we communicate better and feel better about our interpersonal relationships. I realized this was a problem from the textbook when it brought to my attention that I actually didn't know who I was when I moved here. I moved here and I knew one person who was very different from me. And this isn't a bad thing, we're just very different people who hang out with very, very different people. And I was hanging out with these people because they were the only people I knew. And I felt socially awkward. I would walk out of every conversation feeling negative about my interaction and like I didn't communicate who I was properly. The main takeaway from my application of being mindful of my communication and being positive, having a positive self-concept, is that I need to use constructive criticism instead of just criticism. If I'm walking away from every conversation telling myself that's not who you are and saying things just to fit what other people want me to say, it's not going to help me at all. I'm just going to continue to put myself down, and this putting myself down continuously is going to make me not be able to stand up for myself, which is so important as a human skill and especially as an adult who wants to do leadership things. Going forward, I'm not going to let the anxiety take over just to fit what other people want me to say. I know who I am. I know what I want to say and who I want to show other people. I'm going to have positive self-reflection, and I'm going to implement mindfulness automatically instead of manually. Like Kimberly mentioned, I want this to be a default thing where I don't have to be mindful in communication and sit for a second and be like, okay, who am I? I want this to be a default thing that I can just go through, and in every conversation, no matter who I'm talking to, know who I am. In conclusion, our self-concept affects our speech greatly. We need to own what we're saying. In the study, it showed that all kids need to do is own it. Own what you're saying, own who you are, don't change yourself to fit into anyone's perception of you, because that's something you can't control. It feeds into mindfulness, and it's a snowball effect of mindfulness, because if you don't like who you are, you're not going to be able to communicate who you are proudly, and you're not going to be able to stand up for yourself. Positively portraying who we want to be builds positive self-concept, which can help us with our self-efficacy, as I just said, helps us stand up for ourselves, and we're going to need to do this for our whole life. We're not going to get a break where we don't have to be ourselves. We're going to need to be ourselves forever. And I like self-awareness because it's a constantly changing thing. Forever we're going to be able to change our self-concept, and we're always going to have to kind of communicate with people in different ways. It's kind of like the perception checking, where we're going to need to communicate in different ways, but it should align with who we are. And then being mindful and self-aware can help us learn how to align our words and actions with who we want to be. As I've mentioned a couple times, who we want to be is something that's going to be forever changing, but if we take a second to be mindful of our communication and self-aware of what we're saying to others, it can help us have a more positive relationship with those around us. And that is all.